Good morning, everyone, and I hope you had a good weekend. Uh, Here is, I'm going to show you my ring here because I seldom get it out, but uh, this is my bishop ring that was created for me by a dear friend, Donna Gordon, many years ago. It's got EGC on one side and it's got OTO on the other. And it's got my, let's see if you can see there, it's got my, sort of my personal Tau Lamed there, which is sort of my bishop name, and a beautiful, huge amethyst that is actually engraved. Okay, it's pretty fancy stuff, and I'm not a jewel type person, and I only trot it out on occasions, on sort of formal occasions and things like that. But I want to talk a little bit about the OTO and the EGC this morning, just very briefly, so we can get on with our week. Constance and I spoke yesterday, briefly, sort of informally, at 418 Lodge of, it's not a lodge, it's a body of OTO. It's an oasis officially, but it's an OTO body that was founded in the late 70s by Phyllis Seckler McMurtry. She was still McMurtry for a little while. And it has operated first of all in Dublin, then Dublin, California, then Oroville, and then Sacramento. And they invited Constance and I to speak a little bit yesterday. And our subject was, are you called, or do you feel called, or what the hell is being called anyway? And it's sort of my opportunity to kind of straighten out any ambiguities that may remain in people's minds about what the OTO and the EGC is and what it is not, and to stress the fact that Thelema, as a spiritual movement, Thelema is a very, very big concept and a very, very big movement. And Thelema cannot, nor should it be suggested that Thelema could be expressed and appreciated and thrive and do its self-transformational work due to the efforts of one particular organization or another. In other words, no organization could, ever has, or ever could corner the market on thelemic thought. But Crowley, during his lifetime, worked very hard on the creation and the development of two particular organizations, which he they were his kid organizations. Okay, they were his babies, and one was sort of an outer society, a fraternity type thing that could do outward things like publishing and lodge work and lodge meetings and things like that, and one which is just purely a student-teacher relationship. So the outward one was the OTO, and the personal, private, one-on-one one was his AA curriculum. Now an OTO body was in Hollywood was active in initiating and performing the Gnostic Mass at the time of Crowley's death. It was in the Agape Lodge in LA. And that organization continues to this day. And it is the primary thelemic order, or at least the most visible and the most directly connected to Crowley himself. And it would be it'd be inappropriate in the same way that it'd be inappropriate for non-Masons to operate lodges of Masonry. At least kind of legitimate Masons would say, "Well, what are you doing?" As a matter of fact, Joseph Smith, the founder of the Latter-day Saints, got himself in trouble by making Masons. Well, the same thing holds true about the OTO degree ceremonies and such. The Gnostic Mass might be viewed a little differently. Okay, Gnostic Mass is Liber 15. It's a ceremony. Okay, now to present or celebrate the Gnostic Mass as an official OTO or EGC ceremony would be misleading. But to celebrate it as a ceremony in and of itself, as a Eucharistic ceremony in and of itself, as long as you weren't confusing the matter that this is an official OTO or EGC event, in my opinion, is perfectly wonderful. As a matter of fact, the more the merrier. It's a beautiful ceremony that does in and of itself display and celebrate the formula of the new aeon. So what I'm talking about right now is the Gnostic Mass and the EGC and the OTO as the technical organizations. Okay, and this is what I had to say yesterday. It's Do You Feel Called? And I've got it titled Clergy Notes. First of all, OTO bodies all over the world, lodges, oases, and camps, need volunteers of any OTO degree from among their membership to learn and rehearse the roles and serve as novitiate participants in the public and semi-public celebration of Liber 15, better known as the Gnostic Mass. It's an important ceremony. In fact, it is, at present, Thelema's primary face to the world. Its sacramental offering to society at large. Mass teams, official EGC mass teams anyway, and that's what I'm talking about. Want to pull this off in your living room for friends and everything else? It's a nice mass, but it's not official, if official means something to you. Official EGC mass teams are supervised by a duly consecrated bishop of Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica, EGC. EGC. Under whose official auspices the team operates. if these volunteers who serve in the role of priest and priestess are also OTO initiate members of the degree of night of East and West, then they qualify and can apply to receive full ordination and consecration as priest or priestess of Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica, EGC. Until then, they can still serve in the role in technically unofficial celebrations. So, if you're interested in doing that, especially since the pandemic has put almost a 2-year dent in activities and things like that. If you're interested in doing that, volunteer at your local OTO body to say, hey, if you want to get the Mass going again, let me learn the part and I'll step in, we'll get things going again. In dull organizational terms, Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica is the ecclesiastical arm of the magical order, Ordo Templi Orientis. The two bodies are two sides to one spiritual entity, like two hemispheres of one brain. The left hemisphere operates as a magical order that offers its members a series of lodge room-style initiatory experiences of a dramatic nature that closely resemble the style of traditional Masonic degree initiations. In fact, at the turn of the 20th century, the OTO functioned as a European Masonic academy. Now, that's no longer so, and it hasn't been for well over 100 years. But the right hemisphere of the brain functions as a church whose sacred ceremony, the Gnostic Mass, celebrates the same magical mysteries of the OTO, but in a religious context, as a publicly or semi-publicly celebrated Eucharistic Mass that dramatically celebrates the central magical mystery of both the OTO and the EGC. And we could lump that under the category of the Grail mysteries. Ultimately, all such masses are intended to be celebratory expressions of divine and ineffable mysteries of life for the spiritual edification of the Church. The Gnostic Mass was also designed and created to be a dramatization of a specific mystery of sexual alchemy that's occultly enshrined in other Orthodox Masses, Christians, Greek, Russian, Eastern. The same mystery is enshrined in those Masses as well. But in the EGC Mass, it's more overtly and more clearly revealed. It's primarily because it's officiated by both a priest and a priestess. So it more clearly expresses what is sort of occultly enshrined in Orthodox Masses. Okay, so that's... Now, coincidentally, and this sort of muddies the situation, coincidentally, the founding fathers of the OTO also held bona fide apostolic credentials in the Episcopi Vagantes, or the wandering bishop, Christian tradition. Diligent OTO members can learn profound magical lessons and develop considerable magical growth as the result of their initiatory experiences and their exposure to and participation in the Gnostic Mass. In fact, the two organizations are designed to work in tandem. But neither is a teaching organization per se. The magical effectiveness of the OTO and the EGC depends entirely on the ability of the individual not to pass tests of ritual memorization or Kabbalah, but in their ability to absorb and personally process the mutating effects of their experiences in order to enrich and augment their own personal program of study and practice, whatever that may be. Now, one of the subdivisions of the OTO's seventh degree is that of the Magus of Light, which qualifies the initiate, if it be their will, to assume the title and responsibilities of Bishop of EGC. Constance and I are both ninth degree initiates of the Sanctuary of the Gnosis of OTO, and consequently we have served in our clerical capacity as EGC bishops for many years. We have celebrated Mass since the late 1970s and have hosted church and order-related events in our home for nearly half a century. And sadly, we've had to put a pause on that about 2 years ago when the pandemic hit. Technically, Constance and I are quite literally clergy of our church. The EGC has grown considerably in the last 48 years and has been blessed with scores of individuals who have served. Many participate for a season simply to help out their local bodies and get a little ritual experience and augment their own spiritual lives. Others, including Constance and myself, have, after decades of participation, come to the realization that there's something else going on. It's as if we've somehow been called to be something as well as to do something. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why you are drawn to this world of magic? Is it because it's something you need to do? Or is it because of something you need to be? Because of something you are? Many of us feel called to be magicians. Have you perhaps been called to be clergy? And that's where I sort of ended my little part of the talk yesterday. And for some reason, Siri is answering me here and saying she didn't get that. Well, Siri, you'll have to listen to it again. That's it for today. That's my few little words about the magical clergy. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. The Lord bless you. The Lord enlighten your minds and comfort your hearts and sustain your bodies. The Lord bring you to the accomplishment of your true wills, the great work, the summum bonum, true wisdom and perfect happiness.